So this series is where I'll be ranking every album Eminem has ever released. So far, I've covered the first 5 Eminem albums, and now I'm doing Relapse. The series playlist will be linked in the description and the pinned comment, so yeah, enjoy everybody. Let's get right into this. Relapse is the 6th album by Eminem released on May 15th, 2009 through Aftermath Entertainment, Shady Records, and Interscope Records. This album is considered as a return to Eminem's original material since his last album Encore drove away from it. Relapse revolves around its themes of horror, drug rehabilitation, and relapse, and is a return to his Slim Shady alter ego. During the 4-year period of Encore and a year before Relapse release, Eminem was on a hiatus from his drug addiction. After the release of Encore, Eminem planned to take some time off from recording music to become a producer for other rappers, especially ones who signed to Shady Records. However, this did not go to plan, as Eminem entered his hiatus after canceling the European leg of Anger Management Tour in the summer of 2005 because of the drug addiction he suffered from. The following year was, as I mentioned in my previous rankings, the death of his best friend Proof. If you need a quick recap, Proof was fatally shot during an altercation outside a Detroit nightclub. Of course, this fucked Eminem up and made him relapse back into his drug abuse ways. In a June 2009 interview for XXL, Eminem elaborated on the impact of Proof's death on him, stating, "Everyone felt Proof's loss, from his kids to his wife to everyone. But for some reason, in hindsight, the way I felt was almost like it happened to just me. Maybe at the time I was a little bit selfish with it. I think it kind of hit me so hard. It just blindsided me. I just went into such a dark place that, with everything, the drugs, my thoughts, everything, and the more drugs I consumed, and it was all depressants I was taking, the more depressed I became, the more self-loathing I became." In December of 2007, Eminem was unfortunately hospitalized because of an overdose on methadone. After the overdose, he began a 12-step program to recover from his addiction in early 2008 and got sober on April 20th of that year. He has stayed sober ever since then and will likely never go back to those ways again. Recording sessions from the album took place between 2007 and 2009 at several recording studios, and Dr. Dre, Mark Batson, and Eminem handled the production. Dr. Dre stated his intentions to put his all into 2 months to the production of this album. Working with Dre allowed Eminem to pick the beats from his catalog that allowed him to experience using different flows. During the 2-year recording period, a handful of songs for this album were leaked, including an incomplete version of Crack a Bottle. Speaking to Billboard about the leak of the song, Eminem stated, "It wasn't close to finish, and it even has me doing guide vocals for Dre as a suggestion of how he could lay his verses down. It's like someone catches you peeping in your window before you got the Spider-Man costume all zipped up. Nobody's supposed to see that. We're gonna finish it up though and get it out there how it's supposed to be." In what was a wide-ranging interview with the magazine, Eminem also spoke about claims by producer Swizz Beatz that Relapse features a sequel to the rapper's hit single Stand. The producer, who called the song Stand Part 2, said last month it was totally genius. But Eminem said he hadn't worked with the producer on this new album. "There isn't a Stand 2, and there won't be. Stan drove his car off a bridge, and I'm not writing a song as Stan's ghost. That would just be really corny." Relapse debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, selling 608,000 copies in its first week. It also reached number 1 in 12 other countries. The 4 singles in this album consisted of Crack a Bottle, We Made You, 3 AM, and Beautiful, as well as the promotional single titled Old Time's Sake featuring Dr. Dre. Crack a Bottle, which featured Dr. Dre and 50 Cent, reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and won Best Rap Performance by a Duo or Group. This album won Eminem the Grammy Award for Best Rap Album and was certified double platinum by the RIAA. The album received pretty mixed reviews by its critics and fans alike. The production was praised generally, but the thoughts about the writing and accents throughout the album were pretty divided. You know, I personally love the accents, but I'll talk more about that on one of the tracks. It's gonna be a while, so yeah, stay tuned for that. Because Eminem recorded far more material than he could for one album, and felt that he had to offer his fans more music after staying on the hiatus for so long, fellow D12 member Swift confirmed that Eminem in fact had planned to put out 2 albums the same year, following with Relapse 2 in late 2009. According to Angela Yee's Shade 45 interview with Eminem on April 23, 2009, Relapse 2 is supposed to be a continuation of Relapse. Of course. During the interview, Eminem confirmed, "It's extremely close to being finished. It just depends on how many songs I want to put on it." Eminem also explained the album was more emotionally driven than Relapse. The album was pushed back for an early 2010 release, so Eminem decided to re-release Relapse as Relapse Refilled, which includes a bonus disc featuring 7 new tracks, including the single Forever, which was originally on the movie More Than a Game soundtrack, and Taking My Ball, released with DJ Hero, as well as 5 previously unreleased tracks. On its re-release, Eminem stated, "I want to deliver more material for the fans this year like I originally planned. Hopefully these tracks on the refill will tide the fans over until we put out Relapse 2 next year." However, on April 13th of 2010, Eminem tweeted, "There is no Relapse 2. The album had been scrapped in favor of his new project Recovery. While recording sessions of Relapse 2 and seeing the mixed reactions of fans and critics alike, Eminem decided to just scrap most of the recorded material and start from scratch. This wasn't a continuation of Relapse, this was a new project that deserves its own name. The more Eminem kept working with new producers, the idea of a sequel for Relapse didn't make sense to him anymore, hence why he made Recovery." Alright guys, so with that being said, let's get into this ranking. Relapse has a total of 22 tracks, 5 being skits, which I don't rank in these rankings, so 17 tracks total to rank on Relapse. Then Refill added 7 new tracks, so the ranking will come out to a total of 24 tracks. Hope you guys do enjoy this, and yeah, let's get right into this. This would be the part of the song that they drop the needle on and hell breaks loose. Hell Breaks Loose, featuring Dr. Dre, shows both of M and Dr. Dre's eccentric personalities and tendency to bring mayhem on the track. The chorus is my favorite part of this track, and I really like the callback to My Name Is. I really like the chemistry that Eminem and Dr. Dre have. I know I said that on my other rankings, but, you know, I'm going to probably keep bringing it up because, you know, the chemistry between them is just pretty much unmatchable. Although I really love the chemistry between these two, I just think the flow of this track is a bit off. I don't really know how to explain it, but when I hear Eminem and Dr. Dre rapping the verses, it just doesn't seem, man, like I don't know how to explain it. It's definitely not bad, but definitely the worst track of this album. And yeah, like that's not saying much because this track is actually like pretty good. And this being my favorite Eminem album, of course the worst track on it is probably gonna be, you know, just decent. Drop the bomb on him. The chorus is my favorite part of this track and is the reason why I have this over Hell Breaks Loose. I really love it because it's so catchy. The track has Eminem using a Jamaican accent and features cultural references like Chef Boyardee. A little fun fact, Eminem says the word boy a total of 35 times in this song. The verses in here are decent. I can listen to them and have a good time, but the chorus really outshines it. There's really not much else to say. Like Drop the Bomb on him is pretty, you know, decent, and the chorus is my favorite. And yeah, I'm gonna be saying the chorus is my favorite part of the track in a lot of these songs because it's just true. Like, you're gonna be hearing that a lot from me, and I hope it doesn't get too repetitive, and if it does, I am very sorry. 6 semen samples, 17 strands of hair found in the back of a van after the shoot with Vanity Fair. Underground was the final track on Relapse. The main point of the song is for Eminem to explain where he's been for the past few years, while showing that his lyrical ability hasn't fallen either. After Encore did not meet many fans' expectations and a 5-year hiatus, many see this as Slim Shady at one of his best. It overviews the drug addiction Eminem went through during his hiatus from music, showing that Slim Shady is still very prevalent on this record. Faced with a dilemma, I can be Dalai Lama and be calm or bring drama, a step beyond the Jeffrey Dahmer. Must Be the Ganja is known as the drug song of the album. Eminem is always sure to include a drug song for an album. What's ironic though is Eminem was actually sober recording this, but he experienced things that he can base a song off of. This is actually one of the weaker choruses, which is very, very, very surprising because I love the choruses. Like, it's my favorite part of most of these tracks. So for me to not really enjoy the chorus as much as I do for, you know, most of these other tracks, it's very rare, and you're not gonna see it a lot in this video. My favorite lines of this track have to be this one. It's just so awesome. I really like how Eminem delivered these lines, and it's just wow. Like, I fucking love it. Once again they call me Buffalo Bill, Buffalo Bill, Buffalo Bill. Buffalo Bill's intro is very disturbing to say the least, but this is Slim Shady we're talking about. This track tells the story of Slim Shady as a murderer, killing anyone in his way. The title Buffalo Bill is a reference to a serial killer in the movie The Silence of the Lambs with the same name. A few days ago I started watching The Silence of the Lambs, and it's actually such a great movie. For me being a big horror fan, and for Relapse being my favorite album of Eminem, mostly because of the horror aspect in this album, I felt obligated to check out The Silence of the Lambs. And it hasn't disappointed so far. I haven't finished it. I was watching it with my 2 friends at one of my friend's house the other day, so it hasn't disappointed, and I haven't finished it sadly, but one day I'm definitely going to finish it and watch the other movies that are in the series. Insane is literally fucking insane. It's catchy as fuck and funny, and why is it funny? Isn't it where he accuses his stepfather of raping him as a child? Yeah, like, that topic's not funny, but like, it's a made-up story confirmed by Eminem himself, so I'm allowed to laugh at it. And just how Eminem delivers it, it's meant to be satirical. But the reason I don't have it last is, like I said, because I think it's fucking catchy as shit. And like, it's just a meme song. It's like fuck, but like fuck is actually fuck I can't listen to like that much, but Insane I can actually listen to and have a good time. Fuck is just like funny and that's it. This is catchy and funny. He said, what if you went platinum? I just laugh at him. That's not happening, that I can't fathom. Elevator has the best chorus ever. When I say this is the best chorus ever, I mean that in this album, Elevator has the best chorus in this whole album, point blank period. As for the verses, the first verse is pretty good and the second and third are pretty decent. I don't fucking like the outro, to be honest, of the song. It makes the song from going a few spots higher. Anyways, let's talk about the chorus for a bit. So it's basically about Eminem reminiscing on how he was talking to Proof, where Proof thought, what if Eminem went platinum? M said that would never happen, but about 80 million records sold later as of the song recording, so it's, you know, you can imagine how much now. And it's not even just that, what makes the chorus the best, it's the delivery, it's the flow, it's just how it sounds overall, of course. It's fucking awesome and I love it so much. I think I might just do something a little less subtle. Shove a fucking Tonka truck up a little kid's butt. Taking My Ball is pretty cool. There's a line in the chorus that connects to the track Hell Breaks Loose, and I find that connection to be pretty fucking awesome. Other than that, the song has nothing to it, and it's very well, I shouldn't be surprised. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Shady. Hello shares the same purpose as My Name Is from the Slim Shady LP, introducing, or in this case, reintroducing Slim Shady to the world after being gone for so long from music. Of course, this song didn't hit as much as the track My Name Is, but it's still good. Love the chorus in this track, of course. Pun intended, fully fucking intended. These lines in the first verse, I lose a pill and I'm recklessly wrecking the house. That was supposed to be breakfast, where the heck is it now? Ties into the track, which we'll get into later, titled My Mom, where it has Eminem as a kid trying to avoid doing drugs despite his mom forcing him. In this track though, this is Eminem all grown up, where he sadly succumbed to it and now relies on drugs to help him throughout the day. Thank God he sobered up, man. In the third verse, he talks about how he had to pay for drugs instead of getting them for free, and also him going to the hospital from overdosing in 2008. Also, there's a line where he talks about how he once slipped and fell and broke something. He states in an interview from Vibe, I remember standing up to take a piss and I just fell over backward. Smack my back on the trash can, break the trash can, and I get up again, and this time I fall over the other way, to the side. I remember that the bathroom floor was cold, and I remember trying to crawl over to a rug. I got to the rug, and that's the last thing I remember. He also references this event in a track on this record called Deja Vu, and another track on the next album, Recovery. Anyways, I think the song is great, and is very well done, and kind of sucks that it didn't get as much recognition as My Name Is. Like, of course My Name Is a miles better song, but I wish the song got a little more recognition than it did. Yeah, baby, do that dance, the last dance you'll ever get the chance to do. Same song and dance shows the weight and pressure that fame can bring to an artist. When artists experience an extreme level of fame, it usually becomes a destructive force in their lives. This applies to not only the two women included in the song, Britney Spears and Lindsay Lohan, but to Eminem himself. It's not difficult to see how Eminem relates to Britney Spears' and Lindsay Lohan's situations. The lyrics are metaphoric. Eminem personifies the destructive powers of celebrity status through his Slim Shady character. He keeps up the theme of horror here, and everything in this track is just truly genius. Hannibal Lecter in the guy's section, I bet I tantalize in less than 5 seconds I get ya. The rhymes in Medicine Ball are crazy. I love the horror theme he goes for most of this album, as you can tell. He mentions Hannibal Lecter, which of course is from The Silence of the Lambs with Buffalo Bill. Of course, is my favorite part of this track. On the Encore ranking, when I was talking about the track Rain Man, I mentioned these lines from the song about Christopher Reeves. I said I wouldn't bring it up again, and I wasn't until I forgot I didn't mention the lines after those lines. is so fucking hilarious. Eminem is just impersonating him, and it's just for the shits and giggles. And yes, I said shits and giggles, and ironically, go sue me. And this ties into the chorus where M states it's time for you all to hate me again because I write and make fun of so much shit. I really miss this Eminem, man. Talking about revival will be a fucking blast.
I pick it and open it, but it's stuff full of human parts.
Music Box's instrumental is so great. It fits the track so well with it being called Music Box. It's literally a fucking music. Like, wow, I fucking love it. It's probably my favorite instrumental of this whole album. In this track, he describes Slim Shady's murderous ways, whilst referencing many classic horror movies. The chorus has lines that are metaphoric of how Eminem's career has interfered in his personal life, forcing him to choose between making music and spending time with his daughters. With that being said, this line seems almost subtly allude to the idea that for him, music and family are mutually exclusive, that only when the girls are asleep or not around does he feel like he can give into his passion for music, which is constantly calling to him.
One more time for old time's sake. Dre, drop that beat and scratch that break.
This song is hilarious. Sorry, I said hilarious like that. Old Time's Sake, which features Dr. Dre, is about Eminem and Dre talking about their favorite pastime, smoking chronic on a plane with, quote, bitches. This track has 7 verses, and it goes back and forth between the duo. You already heard this before from me, but their chemistry is fucking amazing, especially on this track. The production is great too. Overall, a hilarious, solid track that fits well with this album, despite it not really being horror.
Locked in Mariah's wine cellar, all I had for lunch was red wine, more red wine, and Captain Crunch.
Bagpipes from Baghdad is a diss on Nick Cannon, although isn't aimed completely at him, but more so at Mariah Carey. This diss towards Mariah Carey led her to release the song Obsessed, a jab at Eminem, which in turn led to Eminem to release the diss track The Warning. During this time, Nick Cannon responded to Eminem as Carey kind of backed off for good. In a since deleted post titled How Cute, Cannon wrote that he's taking full action on Eminem. I don't know why no one has stood up to your bitch ass yet, but I guess it's going to take a corny, whack-rapping boy toy from Nickelodeon to set you straight. And trust, I'm going to be relentless. Even though I got a lot of other obligations and occupations, you are my new full-time job, homie. He also stated that, at first, I thought it was old material that had been dug up from when dude fantasized about having a pretend fling with Mariah, but all of a sudden I hear my name in the verse. My first reaction was like, this is his new shit? Wow, that's too bad. Eminem later said he was kind of spazzing out on the record, but didn't know that Nick would take it in this manner. This feud would continue in 2019, where Nick Cannon would appear on T.I.'s Exponentially podcast and say some shit, but I might cover this more during Eminem's Kamikaze era, because this is like 9 years into the future, so I don't really think I should cover it right now. I haven't decided if I will cover it fully, or like if I'll cover it at all, or just a little bit, or whatever, but so, yeah, you guys will see, it's whatever. If you really can't wait though, and are like so interested in the beef, a link will be in the description of where I researched this feud. Anyways, I really like this song, especially the first verse. Oh, and in the third verse he mentions that he got his 1-year sobriety coin chip, which is of course a token for him being sober for 1 year. Anyways, as you can tell, I love this track.
The Marshall Mathers was a classic. The Eminem show was fantastic.
This song, unlike the majority of this album, is a more serious track. The intro starts with news reports about Proof's death, Eminem's drug problem, Obi Trice surviving a gunshot to the head. Yes, he survived a gunshot to the head, and more things he's had to witness and experience. The intro is absolutely genius, and I love that it's a part of the song. The first verse is Eminem saying that he wished for fame and got it, but he feels in prison because he literally cannot leave his house without getting crowded. Also about how critics gave his previous records an average score, but go back a few years later and then they re-rate them with a great score. Then stating the critics didn't like Encore, but with enough time, they'll re-rate it and say it's a classic. These are my favorite lines of the song. The song was actually recorded in 2007, proven by the line on the screen here. He also mentions what he has experienced in those 8 years, being a father, felon, sleeping pill addict, and getting divorced. The second verse is great too, sharing when he got a letter from a fan, and although he doesn't read every single letter he gets, something told him to open this one. The fan says he's been praying for Eminem. Eminem wonders why would someone pray if they don't know you. He appreciates the prayer of course, but he doesn't need it because he has God on his side. Anyways though, the overall message of his track is to be careful what you wish for, because if you get what you wish for, you might not know how to handle it. It might be too much for you, so you gotta be prepared.
He ain't had never bust like this since the last time that he overdosed.
Four legends in the hip-hop community, Drake, Kanye West, Lil Wayne, and of course Eminem, team up to make an epic song. This track is more of a Drake song than anything since Eminem was just a feature. However, I'm gonna rank it because it's on Relapse Refill. So a little background on this track. It was originally used by the Cardinal off his shell featuring Rock City in early 2008, titled Bring It Back. Cardinal did not use the song for his album, and it was later resold to Drake, who released it in late 2008 as I Want This Forever, featuring Lil Wayne and Kid Kid. In an interview, Cardinal stated that his version was a leaked demo which was supposed to appear on his album Not For Sale, as well as the soundtrack. The 2009 version of Forever features of course Kanye West, Lil Wayne, and Eminem. It was a soundtrack to the LeBron James documentary More Than a Game. There's 4 verses, each being one of the rappers. And there's also a chorus which Drake does. If I had to rank the 4 verses, I'd put Kanye's last, Wayne's third, Drake's second, and Eminem's number 1.
Oh my god, bro, is dick riding all you do?
No, I'm
Like,
saying,
you literally got that nigga dick in your mouth right now.
Drake's verse is basically him comparing himself to LeBron, who will go down as one of the best basketball players ever, just like Drake will go down as one of the best rappers in hip-hop history. Drake, still new to the rap game in 2009, is setting equally high expectations for himself. He also brags about how no label signed him, so he had to promote himself entirely on his own with mixtapes and tours. And as you can see, it worked. Drake is one of the biggest rappers out there and will forever be known as one of the GOATs. Kanye's verse is my least favorite, but I still like it. According to West himself, after hearing Eminem's verse, he went back and spent 2 days rewriting his verse to make sure it was perfect for the song. Like Drake's wordplay and rhyme scheme in this verse, Kanye had great wordplay too, even if some of the lines are questionable. Anyways, he states he came into the game young and succeeded. He shows his competitiveness, referencing pop references, pressure of being famous, and more. In Lil Wayne's verse, he states he wants this fame forever and will never stop making music. Now finally about Eminem's, this verse was just so fucking fire. Fun fact, 50 Cent stated that Eminem was upset with how his verse came out on the finished product. M is a perfectionist in the studio, so he had his verse mixed exactly as he wanted it, and apparently didn't know it was going to be on the song with Kanye and Lil Wayne at first. When he sent it to the producer went back and mixed it his way, pissing Eminem off. Eminem has since suggested quite the opposite sentiment in his 2018 track Fall from the Kamikaze album, jokingly stating that he stole the show and is satisfied with his performance. The wordplay is incredible here. The macadamia line, the cockiness, the references to stuff, how he's back and hungry again. This song was just so amazing, and it could not have been this amazing without all 4 of these guys together. I promise you that.
It's making me play hide and seek like Jason, I'm so hungry.
Stay Wide Awake is a track that's very catchy and probably has one of the best pre-choruses in Eminem's discography ever. The Star Wars reference in the first line is a great way to start off the song. Eminem really uses his Slim Shady character to be up there with the other horror villains and serial killers in this world. With the I see my target line to the I'm the kind of guy line, he really did his research on what a serial killer thinks and acts like. This line is actually so wild though. The whole rhyme scheme is insane. I love it. Overall, this is just a W Shady track.
Now here's a plate full of painkillers. Now just wait till I crush the Valium and put it in your potatoes.
Ooh, baby, we're at this one. My mom sees Eminem go into detail on how his drug habit came from his mother's bullying and tricking him into taking pills as a child. Eminem warned his mom that this track was coming about 10 years prior on My Name Is. Talk about foreshadowing, dude. He says the line on My Name Is, I told her I'd grow up to be a famous rapper, make a record about doing drugs and name it after her. Of course, some of these lines are exaggerated, but that's okay because it made these rhyme schemes so impressive to listen to. On the second bridge of this track, Eminem ends it with autotune, and it sounds so fucking bad. But apparently, this autotune was to make fun of people who use heavy autotune in their music, and I guess that's funny, but like, I don't know, it still sounds bad. At the end of this track, Eminem says, haha, sorry mom, I still love you though, which adds to the list of songs he ended with something similar to that line, like the track Kill You and White America. And we'll continue to see more of it later, so of course I'll make sure to point it out whenever I see it again.
Kiss my butt, lick from under cheese from under my nuts.
Featuring Dr. Dre and 50 Cent, Crack a Bottle was the first single on this record, which went on to win the Grammy Award for Best Performance by a Duo or Group in 2010, which I mentioned in the intro of this video. Also mentioned that the song had got leaked. All I stated was Eminem's quote, about the leaked song, but I'll go more into it now. It was leaked under the name Number 1 on the mixtape Fourth Quarter Pressure Part 2. It got leaked again, however, on January 6th of 2009. The leak features Eminem performing Dre's verse and an unused Eminem verse in place of 50 cents. Anyways, this song broke the first week digital sales record with 418,000 sold. Fast forward to 2022, which was last year, unless you're watching this in, the future, or the past. An official music video was released for this track. It's an actual creepy music video, not even gonna fucking cap. Anyways, this track is amazingly done. It has quite a few references to pop culture, the rhyme scheme is incredible, and the flow in here is top tier.
My darling, I don't ever want you to leave me, my darling.
My Darling shows Eminem having an eternal conversation with his alter ego Slim Shady. In the first verse, it shows Eminem talking about how he's finally made it and mentions he sold his soul to the devil to get what he's got, and he thinks he beat that demon when he got off the drugs. In the second verse, the devil, aka Slim Shady, wants Eminem to go back to his drug uses ways, but Eminem doesn't want to. Shady wants to because when Eminem started doing drugs, it formed the Slim Shady character. What ends up happening in the end is that Shady possessed Eminem, which is shown by the final verse being rapped together with the devil voice and his own. The final verse has to be one of the greatest verses in Eminem's discography ever. One part in it has Eminem calling up Dr. Dre, knowing he has his support to stay clean. Shady, though, hopes he'll side with him, so the phone call is actually not Dre on the other line, but instead it's the inner demon in Eminem impersonating Dre in hope to burden Eminem with the belief he's become soft since being sober. This track is just truly genius, and it should be more popular than it is. I cannot stress that enough. There's a lot more to talk about from this track, but we'll probably be here all day, so let's move on to the next one.
3 a.m. in the morning, put my key in the door, body's laying all over the floor.
3 AM sees Slim Shady become a serial killer, committing mass murder following his escape from a rehabilitation clinic. This track has some of the best rhyme schemes ever. The start of the first verse is just so epic and is my favorite part of the song. If y'all don't know, the time 3 AM is known as the Devil's Hour in European folklore. I used to make videos clowning on YouTubers who did challenges like don't do this at 3 AM gone wrong, like this YouTuber named J Station. Good times. The horrorcore of this album is so great that it's nearly in every track, and I fucking love seeing it. Overall, this track was a perfect introduction to the album, and I'm not even joking. Like, it set the tone for the rest of Relapse. This album would not have been as good as it is if this wasn't the intro song to the album.
Kinda feels like deja vu. I wanna get away from this place I do.
Deja Vu has Eminem recount his descent into drug dependency, during which he gained weight, grew depressed, and lost his creative spark. There is a skit before this track titled Mr. Mathers that shows the start of the paramedics coming to Eminem's house and finding him passed out on the floor from the December 2007 drug overdose. It leads directly to Deja Vu, with the introduction of the song being more of the paramedics stating what they found to the Detroit Medical Center. Some key moments in the song worth noting was the pneumonia line. So it was reported in late 2007 that Eminem caught pneumonia. He clarifies the story saying that the cause of this illness was his immune system being weakened by drugs. He raps, "That Christmas, you know the whole pneumonia thing, it was Bologna, was it the Macedonia thing?" Another one to note is him showing his daughter is worried about him, rapping, "Mommy, something is wrong with Dad, I think. He's acting weird again, he's really beginning to scare me. Won't shave his beard again and he pretends he doesn't hear me, and all he does is eat Doritos and Cheetos, and he just fell asleep in his car eating Three Musketeers in the rear seat, weird." Oh man, and the chorus is just great too. The second verse is probably my favorite in this track because of how he depicts the devil still talking to him despite being sober for a year already, and how Eminem tries to rationalize his drinking. This whole song is fucking genius, and it really shows you the mind state of Eminem when he was struggling with addiction.
Damn girl, I'm beginning to sprout an alfalfa. Why should I wash my filthy mouth out?
We Made You is a silly, entertaining track. It was produced by Dr. Dre, who made an appearance in the music video along with 50 Cent. It's a track that provides comedic relief more than anything, since this whole album is pretty dark. I haven't really talked about the accents Eminem uses for much of this album, and I apologize for that, but I wanted to bring it up here because this song is my favorite one where he uses the accents. And plus, I promised it in the intro anyways, I was going to talk about the accents in a later track, and this so happens to be the track that was, later. Lots of friends don't really fuck with the accents, which makes sense, but I always like them, especially this track. It's very subjective. I really like the delivery he pulls off for the accents. Like, it's not just the accent that makes it good, it's the delivery, like Shady Man, don't massacre the fans, and a lot of other lines in this track. Oh, and speaking of Shady Man Don't Massacre the Fans, that is a reference to Encore. He did that on the conclusion of Encore where he killed everyone at the theater seeing him perform, if you remember that. I did point it out in my video, so yeah. He makes fun of celebs like Jessica Simpson and Kim Kardashian, which was fucking great. I love the callback to the first ever picture of M as a teenager where he had a pink ALF shirt on. He raps, "Lord help us, he's back in his pink ALF shirt, looking like someone shrinked his outfit." He's also dressed as a Star Trek character with Dr. Dre in the music video, which was funny to see. With all the dark themes in this album, this song was just a nice, needed comedic relief, and I'm really glad it was a track in this album. And yeah, with the whole like serial killer vibe, that's supposed to be like funny too, and it is. But like this one is more of just, I don't know how to explain it. It's different. It's in its own category compared to the, you know, Buffalo Bills or the Stay Wide Awakes, or there's more like darker ones which are not really serial killer ones, but just ones like Deja Vu or My Darling. Like it's just a nice relief, and I love it. Overall, the song is amazing, and it's just one of the more fun tracks I vibe to.
I took my bruises, took my lumps, fell down and I got right back up.
Considered by many, including me, to be the best song of the album, Beautiful is a beautiful, yes, pun intended, track. The song had begun to be written while Eminem was sitting in rehab. It samples Rock Therapy's Reaching Out on the chorus and bridge of this track. Here's only one song on the record that I produced. It's a track called Beautiful. Eminem said in Vibe's June 2009 issue. He also states, one of the reasons that I put that track on there is that I feel like it's the best song out of the batch that I did when I wasn't sober. At the time I felt like this is it for me. I wrote the first verse and a half in rehab, and when I came out, I finished it. It was the only song that marks that period without bringing me back to that place. Every other track not only didn't fit with the album, but when I listened to it, it would bring up bad memories. The production is beautiful. Not only did Eminem do the production of the song, but Jeff Bass is also credited with producing the track. They both did such an amazing job. At its core, this is a song about depression, but by the end of the track, Eminem expresses optimism and hope for the future. I started writing the first verse and half of the second when I was in rehab going through detox. If you listen to that song and how it starts off, I'm just so fucking depressed. I was sitting on the end of the bed in detox, not fully committed to it and not fully detoxed. They give you medicine to make your detox not as rough. I wrote it during that period, the first 2 days. I was sitting there not knowing where I wanted to be in my career. I didn't even know if I wanted a career anymore, because this shit's just way too much. It just wasn't worth it. So usually for a person, feelings might come array of, I need something to get me through this. That something can range between a lot of things like drugs or eating a lot of food. There's a false belief that temporary lift in mood will allow you to snap out of your depression. As we will see next video in Eminem's recovery album, one of the tracks on there, Not Afraid, helped Eminem learn that it was hard work and dedication to his craft that would eventually pull him out of the rut. My favorite line of this track has to be, I took my bruises, took my lumps, fell down and I got right back up. It says a lot with it just being one sentence. A poet I listen to has a spoken word titled Dear Anxiety. His name is Clayton Jennings, and he helped me through my hard times a lot, just like Eminem did and NF and a lot of other people. Anyways, Jennings, like others, were inspired off Eminem, and he referenced the song in his spoken word with the line, I took my bruises, took my lumps, fell down and got right back up. This line can basically be interpreted as that they struggled and went through the worst of it, their lowest of the lows, and learned to get right back up and keep moving forward. Because they have something to live for. They have people who care about them. They have a ton of things that they need to fulfill. Their time is not over yet. One of the reasons that this track is my number one is it resonated with me to a point where this track helped me move forward and have someone to relate to in the sense of struggling with depression. Eminem also touches upon being around a lot of yes men who will agree with everything he says or laugh if he makes a joke even if it's not funny. Eminem has been known as a lot of things like this comedic figure from tracks My Name Is, The Real Slim Shady, and a lot of others. But his overdose showed fans he has some inner demons no one really acknowledges. He compared himself to a clown who looks ridiculous being dressed up, but is actually mellow inside. You know, everything about the song is genuinely beautiful, and I cannot praise it enough. Not only has it helped me and so many other people to cope, but it really gives a clear depiction on what Eminem's thoughts were.